This honesty hack is the real secret to a successful marriage.
Do you hesitate to ask for what you want in your marriage? Do you get mad if your spouse says a no to what you want? Do you believe that your spouse should just know what you want? Do you think if my spouse really loved me, he or she would do X? If you answered yes to any of these, then this episode is for you. Something that Gabriel is a real master at is honest communication. And one thing that I love about you is your yes and your no, because it has me feel like I can trust you more in your word. How did you get to that point of being able to be so honest?
I got to that point through realizing that nothing else got the point across and led to the results that I wanted in my life. And when I got very clear on that fact and I started to clearly communicate what I wanted and what I did not want, then things changed for the better. And I felt great, even when I didn't necessarily receive everything that I wanted, that I had put my full self forward and was unapologetically myself. And no matter what somebody thought, how they reacted or how they felt, I knew that I was not making myself smaller to make somebody else more comfortable. And you can have empathy. You can have awareness of how your words and actions affect other people. But at the end of the day, you should never be afraid to speak your truth and ask for what you want.
Yeah, one of the things that made me feel so much more relaxed in our marriage was that I have always known that you're going to ask for what you want. I don't have to read your mind. I don't have to second guess. I don't have to read between the lines in our marriage to try to figure out what it is that you want. I remember in past relationships, that was not the case. In our relationship, really early on, there was one evening where I'd stayed over at your house and I really wanted you in the morning to reach over and cuddle me. I was going home and I thought to myself, oh, he didn't cuddle me in the morning. And I was like, oh, I don't really want to have to say anything. He should just know. In that moment, I caught myself because I realized the belief was that if I had to ask for it, it somehow made it less special. I think a lot of people have that belief. And it really messes with intimacy and communication in a marriage. If you think that it makes it less special to ask for what you want, then you're basically saying your partner needs to be a psychic. That's the truth. That leads to so many miscommunications and misunderstandings. It's also putting the responsibility on your partner to somehow intuit what you want, rather than you having the responsibility to share what you want.
One other point that I want to add to that is the fact that even though I'm not afraid to express what I want and be very clear and direct in that, I also have had times where I unknowingly struggled because I didn't even realize that the thing that I wanted was on the table or available. And I had created a story around the fact that, oh, that's not cool. She's not down with that. And in reality, I just needed to shift my perception and what I was playing out in my head and say, hey, I know I had brought this up a few months back, and at that time it was a no. I'm still really feeling this desire. I just wanted to touch base and check in with you. And we definitely found that some things that were no's or maybes became yeses. And as our marriage and our relationship has deepened and there's been more trust and safety and openness in other areas, then it leads to openness and more desire in areas that I might have originally thought or played out in my head as, no, that's just not happening. So that's been a really beautiful thing to further dive into me asking for what I want and letting go of the pattern of, if this situation has gone to a no, it will always be a no. And also learning how to ask from a place of love and openness and compassion, and not from a place of, I need this, you need to give this to me. And instead to say, I would love this. This would bring me so much joy and happiness for these reasons. And I just wanted to express that with you with no energy towards must or else.
That's so critical in sharing what you want or in asking what you want, to give your partner the space to be a no and be okay with their no. And it doesn't mean that you can't be disappointed. It doesn't mean that you can't wish it was a yes instead, but actually giving your partner that safety to feel like their no is going to be received and honored also creates more space for that to shift in the future. Growing up as a people pleaser, and I'm sure a lot of you will relate to this, my yes was always the first thing. I almost never considered if I would actually be a no to anything. Yes was my go-to response. It was very uncomfortable for me to learn to say no and stand in my no in the beginning stages of our relationship and our marriage, where I didn't feel like my no was as well received or understood. You weren't trying to disrespect my no, but you would say, what can we do to change that to a yes? And I'd be like, respect my boundaries. I had to learn to stand firmly in my no and give myself the permission that if it felt true later for it to be a yes, to allow myself to have that. Sometimes what can come up is this idea that if you're a no and then you're a yes later, that you're somehow wishy-washy. And that's not the case, because we're human and we're changing when we're evolving and we're growing all the time. So sometimes things will be a yes. Sometimes you might be a yes now and a no later. And that's also okay. Communicate that clearly and hold that space for each other. Because if you want your partner to understand and respect and honor your no, you also have to honor and respect their no.
It's been a very, at times intense, but also rewarding journey to learn to truly love your no, to really be able to celebrate it. And I think the biggest takeaway is when your partner truly is a no to something and you can celebrate that, it means that when they are a yes, it feels so powerful and so palpable in the knowing that they're not just saying yes to say yes. They really mean it. They are a full F yes to it. And I feel like that is what we really want. We never truly want to receive a half-hearted yes. We want a full, heart-opened, joyous yes. I would love to do that. And that is worth all of the other no's in my experience. And I love the fact that I'm able to experience that with you and that you are safe in the knowing that you can be a no, and your no can change to a yes, and your yes can change to a no. That's also such a beautiful thing.
Yeah, inside every no, there is a yes somewhere to something else. So when you get really clear on your no, you also then have space to explore, where is my yes and what is my yes? One thing that Gabriel has been so great about in our marriage is being like, okay, well, I hear that you're a no to this. What about this? And also asking me, what else might you be a yes to? And me practicing as this reformed people pleaser. It's very hard if you're in that space or you're coming out of that space to really get connected to what it is that you actually want. So even for me, learning to take that space to feel into, okay, well, this is a no, but what would feel good here? What might I like to do here? What am I available for? And communicating that also. Right now, I'm not quite sure, but I know there is something, and I need to take a little space, and I'm going to feel into it, and I'm going to come back to you. So that's something that you can do as well, is claim the space that you need. If you need time to figure out what your yes is, take that time. Communicate that to your partner. Don't stonewall them and just disappear or withdraw. Be like, I need 5 minutes, or I need 10 minutes, or I'm going to take a walk and I'm going to come back and we can talk more about this. There's lots of ways that you can create that space in a way that feels very harmonious, so long as you're actually communicating it with each other.
Yeah, 100%. Taking an empowered break from what you're talking about, especially if it's an intense ask, if it's an intense desire, and feeling into what you need. but sharing it from that place of collaboration, from going deeper into the relationship. When we're able to do that, it feels different. It actually brings us closer, because instead of, oh, they're probably going to say no, it's not going to work out, it becomes a, hey, I really want to feel into this. I want to make sure that if I am a yes to this, that I'm an absolute yes. And if I'm a no, I really understand why I'm a no, because I want both of us to fully understand what's going on around this. And I so honor and receive your desire. That's the second thing to add on there. You do such a beautiful, amazing job. And I also had to ask for you to specifically do it in the way that I desire, of celebrating anything that I ask for, even if you are a no to it. You still celebrate it, and you're like, I love that desire. I love that you asked for that. And you do it so graciously and so beautifully.
Yeah. A lot of times when your partner may ask for something, or you may have experienced this if you've asked for something and feeling shamed by your partner or shaming your partner for what they want. Usually we resort to shaming because we feel uncomfortable with saying no. So it's easier to make the other person wrong for wanting it. And that's a really advanced practice, right? To kind of move past that shame and get to the place of, wow, I'm so glad that you felt comfortable to share this with me. I'm so glad that you felt safe to share this with me. This is what creates intimacy in marriage, is having those honest conversations, being a safe space for your partner to come to you and share their deepest thoughts, feelings, desires with you, whether or not you act on them. But being that safe space, that's what creates that intimacy and brings down the barriers between you. To be in a successful marriage, you need to have safety, you need to have honesty, you need to have intimacy. And if you feel afraid to share about the really deep parts of yourself, then you're not going to have that. It's going to feel like there's something lacking in your marriage. It's going to lead to resentment. It's going to lead to distance, withdrawing. And then one day you wake up and you're like, who is this person? And it's because you didn't have the conversations to really find out. There's so much assumption that happens in marriage, especially a long-term marriage where you're like, I know this person.
Yeah.
But we're always growing and changing.
That's such a beautiful part of marriage, in that you're able to really meet and experience and be with a different person over time. Because if you stayed the same and I stayed the same, why are we doing that? Why are we not evolving? Why are we not growing? I feel really grateful that we get to do that together. And one of our huge values is growth, is being the best version of ourselves, and also together in our marriage.
And because we have those conversations, it's never a surprise that we've grown, changed, and evolved. That's why communication is so important. Communication is about curiosity. We have so many different layers to us, so many different facets, all of us. With time and curiosity, you get to know those deeper layers of your partner. If you don't have that practice of honesty and good communication, one day you're going to wake up and wonder who this person is.
Yeah.
That's laying beside you. That's a really scary moment. I've had that before in my past marriage. We just swept everything under the rug. We didn't talk about anything. We never argued, or very rarely, but I never felt like he really knew me. And he didn't, because I didn't share. And when I left that marriage, my belief around it was that it was his fault that he didn't know me. But really what it was I never shared, and I didn't feel safe to share, not because of him, but because of my own stuff, my own shame, my own emotional baggage that had me hide parts of myself because I didn't feel like they were lovable. Another point of this is really learning to love yourself and own those parts of yourself, because how can you communicate it with your partner if you feel that it's needs to be hidden? You can invite your partner into that. Be like, I feel really nervous about sharing this. I feel really scared about sharing this, or I feel really tender about this, or I've never shared this with anyone. And it's hard for me, and I'm sharing it because I love you and I want more connection and I want to be close to you and I want you to know me and I trust you and I love you. That's such a soft entry into really tender conversations.
It's important to understand why your partner might be desiring to be received or heard in that way. Quick little story time. For me, one of the things that I struggled with in my adolescence was a fear of rejection. I was a very late bloomer. I didn't even kiss a girl until I was 18. It stemmed from that fear of rejection. I never wanted to experience that. And Sophia and I both individually and together have done lots and lots of work doing NLP and timeline therapy. And I feel very secure and solid within myself around that, but it doesn't mean that it still can't be tender at times. And so if I'm expressing a desire to Sophia, then that sometimes can come up for me. So I say, hey, I would love for you to make a special point to celebrate any desire that I bring up, even if you are a no or a maybe or not a full yes in that moment. And that is able to honor and acknowledge that aspect of myself. It's such a beautiful thing to be able to receive, and that brings us closer together because she actually understands where I'm coming from. And so I would recommend to any other married couples out there that they get curious about why their partner is asking for whatever they want. It brings so much juiciness and intimacy and safety.
Yeah, you're taking the guesswork out of it for me. I don't need to try to figure out how to love you. I don't need to try to figure out what makes you feel loved. You tell me, I would like some celebration of this, or I would like reassurance. There's nothing wrong with being that open with your partner and actually saying, hey, this is how you can win with me. This is a really big thing. When your marriage is based on assumption, is based on you should just know what I want, or if you loved me, you would do X. You're setting your partner up to fail. You truly are. They don't know how to win with you. Everybody has their own unique ways of feeling loved. When you are so clear about what it is that will have you feel loved, supported, seen, cherished by your partner, they can win with you. And when people feel like they can win, that's when they want to really keep going and giving their all. Eventually, if someone believes they're going to fail at everything that they do, or they're going to do it wrong, they stop trying. And that's where you get to feeling so unloved, because you've set your partner up to fail. They keep failing, and eventually they're going to give up. You might have experienced that yourself, where you were the one who felt like everything you did was wrong. And eventually you just give up because you're like, this person's impossible to please. What am I even going to do? So it's really, really powerful. The key to having clear communication and honesty and intimacy in your marriage is getting clear of the limiting beliefs and the emotional baggage that stop you from feeling safe to share your truth. If you would like support around this, we have a couple of different ways you can work with us. You can find more about that in the show notes. And we also have some free resources that can really help you with these things as well.